25 minutes before 9 here on the program, and let's follow up on one of our news stories, and I suppose that's why Phil got a bit confused there. This is actually a part of our news, and it's good to get developments on it. The appeal court in Bloemfontein is set to deliver judgment in SABC Chief Operating Officer Hlaudi Motsoeneng's appeal case. It's happening this morning. Basically what he's appealing against is a High Court ruling that he be suspended and disciplinary steps be taken against him. The appeal court reserved judgment on the 18th of last month. So for more on the story, let's cross over to our reporter in Bloemfontein, Richard Newton. Richard, good morning to you. Let's, I suppose, first talk about what's expected today.
Yes, good morning, Leanne. As you said correctly, the Supreme Court of Appeal is expected to deliver that judgment this morning. It's a lot quieter than it was last time we were all here. It's just the judgment that will be handed down, and of course it is in that appeal by the SABC and its COO, Hlaudi Motsoeneng, against that ruling from the Western Cape High Court that he be suspended and that a disciplinary action be held. Now, of course, there were a lot of arguments surrounding the powers of the public protector that are also involved in this case in a sense, and on the fringe a lot of people watching to see how that will impact, because of course the call for the suspension of the COO emanated from the findings of the public protector report. And as we know, one of the arguments in court was are the findings binding, are they enforceable, can they be ignored, must they be taken action? Must action be taken? So that's all in the wider picture. But for now, at the moment, we're looking at perhaps an hour from now, but earlier we'll have the judgment handed down by the Supreme Court of Appeal. It was a full bench that heard arguments, and we expect to hear that judgment, as I say, within an hour.
So all of this is expected to happen within an hour, and what happens thereafter? I mean, I imagine that it's going to be quite a short appearance, is that correct?
Well, for those who are not too familiar with the workings of the Supreme Court of Appeal, what will happen this morning is one of the Supreme Court judges will come in, sit down, and basically just read the conclusion, just the actual, whether it's upheld or dismissed, and an issue of costs. And then it will be for all the parties involved to get the full set of documents, which could run from 10 pages to 100 pages, to find out the nitty-gritty, the details behind it, and where to from here. So the initial announcement will just be straightforward, just the judgment from the Supreme Court of Appeal, but then the hard work begins for everyone involved to look at the documents, to study them, and if further action to be taken or not, that's where all the hard work will have to be done.
Any expectations that are there before judgment is given?
Well, people don't like to speculate at all, and this case has been such a high-profile case in the media that people are very wary. And of course, it was a full bench of the Supreme Court of Appeal and very learned judges, and they've obviously sat down, written their own arguments, compared it with their colleagues. We'll find out whether it's unanimous or not when it comes out today. But people sort of waiting to hear what's going to happen and to get those reasons before anybody's going to be making any calls on where we should go from here.
All right, let's leave it there. Richard, thank you very, very much. In just less than an hour, we should be seeing all happening there in Bloemfontein. And Richard Newton is our SABC reporter who is covering that case, where the Supreme Court of Appeal is expected to rule this morning whether SABC Chief Operating Officer Hlaudi Motsoeneng appeal against an earlier court judgment suspending him was actually valid.